Hi, I'm Mike Weldlenstein. I'm here today with Pat, and I'm going to expand upon past videos I've done on shoeing the draft horse. It's a tough job. It's a dangerous job. One has to be physically fit. You have to have well-trained horses. You have to be ready for the task. And ready for the task, I mean meet the physical demands and know what you're doing. Because the foot is a sensitive area of the horse that demands attention, and without appropriate shoeing, you can create a lot of damage. We'll go over some of the basic steps that I use to work through a draft horse. First and foremost, have a horse that'll stand and a handler that can hold on to the horse and be concerned about your safety. These horses are getting bigger and bigger with the breeding practices that we use today. And your bones aren't made to carry their bones. So use some of the products available to you today for your safety and for your longevity. All right, we'll move on to the hooves, but before we do that, let's talk about the horse. It's important to look at the horse, walk around the horse, watch the horse walk. You want to see if there's any lameness concerns before you even start. You want to see if there's conformational abnormalities. You want to see if there's defects in the horse's feet and or old injuries in the legs that might be of concern while we're shoeing. The hoof is a road map of what's going on up above. If the hooves are worn unevenly, it's an indication that there is a deviation within the limbs, and we may want to address that in the hooves. So the first process, in the process of shoeing a horse, would be removing the shoes. And cutting those clinches is the first thing we're going to do. The tool we're going to use is a clinch cutter. And a clinch cutter has a flat side and a tapered side. And we want the flat side against the hoof, and we want to cut or straighten out those clinches so that we do not create damage to the hoof wall as we're pulling that shoe off. When I'm using the clinch cutter, I'm going to use a urethane hammer. The benefit of this urethane hammer is, for one, we spend more and more money on our nailing hammers, and we don't want to destroy the head of those nailing hammers. With this urethane hammer, the abuse goes to the urethane hammer, but also it creates less concussion and shock going into the horse's hoof. When I pick him up, I want to keep him in the natural range of motion. So let's do that again. I pick him up. First, let him know I'm around. I'm going to reach down. I'm going to give him just a squeeze above the fetlock as I'm pushing forward on his knee. Keep that within the natural range of motion. And then I'm going to slide myself in underneath there. You see the shoe has been drilled and tapped for studs that we use during the winter. I'm going to take the clinch cutter, flat side against the hoof, find the clinch, and just give it a sharp blow, and walk around and cut those clinches individually. This is a plain stamped shoe, meaning each individual nail is just punched. If they have a crease in there, a crease or a ridge in there, that's a traction device. But these, I can loosen those nails up just by giving each nail a little pop here. Then I would use a pull-off tool, and I'll pry between the hoof and the shoe, back at the heel, just pry back a little bit. Go to the other heel, pry back a little bit. Set that down. Then I can generally grab the nails individually and pull them. I'm trying to keep this hoof within the natural range of motion underneath the horse's body. Keep him more comfortable. I'll pull that shoe off, and then I'm going to set him down. Give him a break, give me a break. So I've taken the nippers and nipped off the excess hoof wall. I'll clean up the frog a little bit with a knife, but I'm going to refrain from manicuring the bottom of the foot excessively. The horse needs that protection against the environment. I will clean this dirt debris out from underneath the bar here and here. I use a loop knife, and I'll just trim that up, clean the corners out, make sure that if someone is so inclined they can get a hoof pick in there, clean that up. I use a very broad file for the draft horse hooves, and because he has a flat foot, I need to go around that foot, around that frog, and work on flattening out where I've nipped. I'm going to bring the heels back as uniform as possible, and then I'm going to get a uniform hoof wall from the solar surface here. And I will put the foot in this position and evaluate how flat I've gotten that. Set it down and evaluate it one more time. A uniform heat is helpful in shaping the shoe. I want to start at the toe first. And first I'm going to set that clip in at the same angle as the hoof wall. And then I looked at the shoe and the hoof while I had the shoe to the horse, and I needed to round up the outside corner here. So I'm going to allow a gap between the anvil and that shoe right there. I'm just going to tap down. I'm going to walk around like that, and that's going to round that up. I need to bring the heel in a little bit. So I'm going to go beyond that point. Hit beyond. What I'm doing is shaping. And I want to set down the inside width of web because we don't want pressure on the sole. I'm going to go to the inside branch, which was a little straighter. So just beyond the second nail hole, I'm using the flat side of the hammer. I'm going to hit just beyond there. I'm going to pull that shoe back so that the horn is under the last nail hole, and I'm going to hit down here, and that will straighten that branch out some. I'm going to bring the whole branch in just a little bit. Walk along the inside width of web to make sure that I have no sole pressure. I'm also going to hold the shoe up and look at the symmetry of that shoe. Up in this half-inch shoe is also E-head, European head. It's very important that your nail is the nail appropriate for the shoe you're using, and that fits tightly in there. I wring that nail off in case the horse was to be startled. This apron would just slow it down a little bit. Trademark in. At this point, I'll pull those nails out that I used as rivets. And continue with the nailing process. Then I'll come underneath and just take the burr off. Go around and get this side too. Take that burr off. And then using the clincher, I'll bend those down. It folds them over and pushes them in, and that's what holds your shoe on. Tight clinch.